The Silent Extinction of Deep-Sea Bioluminescent Creatures. A NEXION documentary. Imagine a night so dark that the only stars are creatures below you. Tiny living lights flickering on the ocean floor in patterns, older than recorded history. Now imagine those lights going out, one by one, not with a bang, but a hush. No headlines, no footage, just a slow disappearance in a world most people will never see. Tonight, NEXION follows the glow, the fragile ecosystems of bioluminescent life in Earth's deep seas, the threats they face, and a hard question we can't afford to ignore. Are we watching a silent extinction unfold beneath the waves? Chapter 1: The Hidden Lanterns of the Abyss. Beneath sunlight's reach, in the black water of the mesopelagic and hadal zones, life evolved a unique language: light, bioluminescence. The biological production of light appears in thousands of species across many phyla. Tiny plankton that light up when disturbed, squid that use flashing displays to communicate, and deep-sea fish with built-in lures to attract prey. These living lanterns are not a novelty. They are an ecological currency. Light signals find mates, frighten predators, camouflage bodies, and guide hunting strategies in a world where vision matters, even in the dark. Scientists now understand that bioluminescent organisms knit entire food webs together, from microbes that glow when disturbed to complex organisms that choreograph light shows. The phenomenon underpins feeding, reproduction, and migration. If the light dims, networks of dependency can fray. Chapter 2: Why their glow matters to us. It's easy to feel that deep-sea life is remote from human concerns, but the deep ocean plays outsized roles for the planet. It stores heat, absorbs carbon, and drives long-term climate cycles. Bioluminescent organisms participate in these processes. They are prey, predators, and recyclers of organic matter that sink from the surface. When these organisms change in abundance or behavior, nutrient cycling in food webs adjust behind the scenes. That can ripple upward. Fisheries, ocean chemistry, and even carbon sequestration can be affected. There's also a human value. Bioluminescent organisms have inspired medical research, novel imaging techniques, and cultural wonder. The loss of species we have barely studied would close doors on future discoveries and remove a source of inspiration we rarely consider. Chapter 3: The First Alarms. Subtle signals of change. Scientists rarely announce catastrophes for the deep the way they do for forests or coral reefs. The indicators are subtle. Shifts in the timing of bioluminescent blooms, altered vertical migration patterns, fewer lures visible during submersible dives, or altered acoustic signals from the creatures that rely on light. Observations come from a handful of ROV video logs, long-term acoustic sensors, and comparative trawls. Individually, each anomaly may seem local or explainable by natural variability. Together, a pattern begins to emerge: a decline in the frequency and brightness of certain bioluminescent displays across sites and seasons. Researchers call it silent because it lacks drama. There is no single, globally visible event. Instead, the decline is geographic, patchy, and measurable only with patient science. That scarcity of spectacle means the crisis can advance while public attention remains elsewhere. Comment prompt embed, on-screen pinned. If a whole ecosystem can disappear without headlines, should we treat deep-sea observation as urgent as wildfire monitoring? Type A for YES, B for no. Tell us why in the comments. Chapter 4: Causes. Warming, acidification, and the noise of humans. The deep ocean is not immune to the anthropogenic pressures reshaping the planet. Several drivers converge to threaten bioluminescent communities: ocean warming and stratification. As surface waters warm, stratification intensifies. Less mixing means fewer nutrients cascade to depth, changing the availability of food for organisms that fuel bioluminescent food webs. Even slight temperature shifts can change metabolic rates and reproductive windows for cold-adapted species. Ocean acidification.coa. Uptake alters seawater chemistry. Many deep-sea organisms rely on calcified or protein structures sensitive to pH, while direct relationships between acidification and bioluminescence are still being studied. Shifts in chemistry can rewire trophic interactions. Light and noise pollution. Increasing human activity, from naval sonar to deep-sea mining lights, and even poorly regulated offshore operations, injects energy into the darkness. Artificial light can disorient species adapted to darkness. Noise from shipping and exploration interrupts behavior and may alter predator-prey dynamics. Microplastic and chemical contamination. Tiny plastics and persistent pollutants sink and concentrate in the deep. Microplastics have been found in the guts of deep organisms. Toxins may bioaccumulate, weakening individuals and reducing reproductive success. Deep-sea mining and resource extraction. The prospect of mining polymetallic nodules, cobalt crusts, and massive sulfide deposits threatens to physically remove habitat and create plumes that smother delicate organisms over wide areas. Many of the species in mining zones are slow-growing and poorly known. Extinction here could be effectively permanent. Importantly, these pressures don't act alone. Their interactions produce nonlinear risks. A weakened population from chemical stress becomes more vulnerable to temperature swings or predation. That's the danger of silent extinctions. Compounding stressors that tip systems without a single smoking gun. Chapter 5: Case Studies. Where the lights are dimming. A few regions stand out, not as global proof, but as critical warning signs. The North Atlantic Twilight Zone. Long-term acoustic transects revealed that dial vertical migrations, nightly movements of lantern-bearing zooplankton, toward the surface and back are shifting in timing and intensity. The migrations are crucial for carbon transport. Their alteration suggests systemic change. Hydrothermal vent margins. At vents, chemosynthetic communities host luminous worms and crustaceans. Observations around active vents show populations fluctuating with chemical flux changes and with occasional human disturbances from nearby research activity. When vent chemistry shifts, the whole luminous community can reorganize or decline. Tropical off-bank slopes. In some tropical regions, ROV footage shows fewer bioluminescent flashes per hour than decades earlier. Localized increases in sedimentation from coastal development and runoff may have reduced plankton populations, removing the base of luminous food chains. Each example raises questions. Are these local anomalies, or can they presage broader trends? The truth is, both local changes can be early indicators of a global problem, especially when they recur across contrasting environments. Engagement prompt on screen. Which case surprised you most? Changing migrations, vent, decline, or vanished flashes on tropical slopes? Comment below and explain. We'll read the best answers in the next episode. Chapter 6: The Biology of Light. Fragile Mechanisms. How does bioluminescence work, and why is it so vulnerable? At the cellular level, light is produced by biochemical reactions. Luciferins oxidized by luciferase enzymes, or symbiotic bacteria that emit light inside animal tissues. These systems evolved under very specific environmental conditions: temperature, oxygen, pressure, and chemical milieu. Small shifts in the environment can change enzyme kinetics, bacterial communities, or the energetic budgets that organisms use to glow. Moreover, bioluminescence is often tied to life history events, mating displays that occur only in a narrow window, defensive flashes used only when predators approach, or daily rhythms timed to lunar cycles and vertical migrations disrupt the timing or energy supply, and the signaling fails. Finally, many luminous species have low reproductive rates. A slow life history combined with targeted stress makes population recovery slow, if it happens at all. Chapter 7: Science on the Edge. How we know what we know. Studying the deep is expensive and technically challenging. Batteries, pressure housings, and long deployments cost money. Data returns in terabytes of low-light video and scattered samples. Yet, creative monitoring exists. Passive acoustic arrays that record the soundscape and infer biological activity. Low-light cameras on gliders. Environmental DNA sampling that reveals who was recently present. And long-term moorings that measure chemical change. Together, these tools create a mosaic of evidence. Researchers stress test hypotheses with interdisciplinary teams. Biochemists decode luciferin chemistry. Oceanographers model nutrient flux, and data scientists analyze decades of acoustic and optical records. The picture is not yet complete, but the convergence of methods strengthens the warning. If you value deep ocean science, support oceanographic institutions and citizen science fundraisers. Many critical programs rely on public dollars. Link in the description. Chapter 8. Cultural Roots. Why we overlook the dark. Why has this crisis been quiet? The answer is partly cultural and partly logistical. We see what we monitor. The deep has been more romanticized than documented. Glowing squid in a breathless clip make headlines. But the steady decline of small plankton does not. The public conversation gravitates toward the visible. Oil spills, bleaching reefs, dying whales. That focus matters. Funding and policy respond to crisis signals that the public cares about. Another factor. The deep is legally and politically diffuse. Many luminous habitats lie beyond national jurisdictions, in international waters where governance is slow. When a problem requires transnational response, coordination lags. Chapter 9, Ethics and the Case for Precaution. What obligations do we have to organisms unseen by most of humanity? Ethically, many argue for a precautionary approach. When interventions like deep-sea mining risk irreversible harm to poorly understood communities, the default should be restraint until adequate data exists and protective measures are enforced. Precaution does not mean halting all research or resource use. It does mean rigorous impact assessments, monitored pilot operations, and binding adaptive management. If monitoring shows harm, projects pause. That approach balances scientific exploration, economic need, and the moral claim to preserve planetary biodiversity. Engagement trigger on screen and pinned. Would you support an international moratorium on deep-sea mining until we fully understand luminous ecosystems? Type yes or no note and tell us why in the comments. The strongest arguments will be highlighted in our next film. Chapter 10 Solutions. Science, Policy, and Local Action. Stopping silent extinction requires layered work. 1. Scale up monitoring. Fund long-term observatories that measure light, sound, and chemical flux to detect trends early. 2. Protect key habitats. Identify and designate marine protected areas, MPAs, around hotspots of luminous diversity, including vent fields and migration corridors. 3. Regulate higher risk activities. Implement strict environmental standards and moratoria for large-scale mining until impact science is settled. 4. Support Limpact Tech. Encourage mining and exploration technologies that minimize plumes. Use quieter equipment and prioritize real-time monitoring. 5. Promote public engagement. Bring the deep into classrooms and living rooms with VAR, accessible datasets, and documentaries. Awareness drives political will. 6. International governance. Strengthen legal frameworks for the high seas under bodies like the International Seabed Authority and UN forums to enforce precautionary standards. Each measure is practical, but political will determine speed. Chapter 11. Hope and Tiny Lights. Success stories. There are reasons to hope. In areas where science and stewardship align, recovery is possible. Near some coastal MPAs, protections have allowed higher plankton biomass and healthier food chains. Technology is improving. Low-light cameras now stream live footage, and environmental DNA gives rapid snapshots of biodiversity. Citizen campaigns have successfully paused exploration projects when scientific reviews were incomplete. These successes teach a clear lesson. When evidence, policy, and public pressure align, the pace of damage can slow or reverse. The glow can return, but only if we act thoughtfully and soon. The deep-sea light show has lit Earth for hundreds of millions of years. Its disappearance would not be a single headline, but a permanent dimming of our planet's living tapestry. We don't get second chances when it comes to species that we barely understand. Choices made now about mining, emissions, and monitoring will echo for centuries. If this story moved you, do 3 simple things. Subscribe to NEXION, share this film, and vote in the pinned comment. Should we press pause on extraction until the science is clear? Tell us why. The most thoughtful replies will be featured in our follow-up episode. This was the silent extinction of deep-sea bioluminescent creatures, a NEXION documentary. Thank you for watching.